morning. God bless you. I'm so glad you came back this week. We're going to be singing in just a little bit, but I want to begin quickly with a story from the 9th chapter of the Gospel of John about a man who was healed from his blindness. It says, as he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth, and his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, it was not that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. Jesus came to this man this day, and no one really paid much attention to him. He was sitting right outside the temple gates, and yet people passed him by never having seen him. And when the disciples saw him, they were pretty sure that either he had committed some kind of a sin, or maybe it was his parents before him. But Jesus says, no, that's not the case, but that this happened so that God's glory could be seen in him. You know, God has chosen me and chosen you in spite of all of our imperfections, failures, and problems in our lives, so that he could show his glory in our lives. That's called grace. I want us to be thinking about that grace as we sing this song, and then we'll return for a second look at what happens next. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound, it saved a wretch like me. I once got lost, but today I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Yes, I was blind, but now I see. And yet, when God comes and does his wonderful work of grace in our lives, not everybody is always all that excited about what's happened in our lives. Sometimes we face opposition from forces that we just never expected to show up. And so this man, after he was healed by Jesus and he came back seeing for the first time in his life, just kind of try to imagine that. I get excited when I think about it. He's never seen a thing and doesn't know what a color is. And suddenly the entire world in Technicolor is all around him with perfect 20/20 vision. Oh, he's so excited. He shouts and returns to his neighborhood, and his neighbors gather around him. And yet, pretty soon somebody gets a little suspicious, and they call the authorities, maybe the 911 of their day, and the authorities show up, and instead of saying, wow, praise the Lord, we're so glad that you're healed, or we're so glad that God is blessing your life, they start to question him and say, what's wrong here? Something must be out of joint. And so they begin to interrogate him, and they bring him in for a cross-examination after the first questioning. It says, and for the second time they called the man who had been born blind and said to him, give God the glory. We know that this man is a sinner. They were talking about Jesus. They were pretty sure God was good, but they weren't so sure about Jesus. They were pretty sure Jesus was a sinner. Because he wasn't under their control. Jesus wasn't under their thumb. They couldn't pull the strings to get Jesus to do things just the way they wanted. Does that sound familiar today? Are there people who would like to pull the strings even on God to keep him under control? Well, I've got good news. Is that God's amazing grace can break through any situation that we're in. He answered, whether he's a sinner, I do not know. Remember, he couldn't see the Jesus who sent him off to wash, and when he came back healed, he'd still never seen Jesus with his eyes. But one thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see. You see, we don't need to be great theologians. We don't have to have all the answers for people who ask us, but what we can say. This faith that has come into my heart has opened up my life in a way that I can't even explain. I just can tell you these two things. I was blind, but now I see. Oh, amen. Through many dangerous toils and snares I have already come. It is grace that's brought me safe thus far, and God's grace will lead me home. When we've been there, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining at God's sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun, than when we first, than when we first, than when we first begun. God bless you this week. May God watch over and keep each of us as we go with Him and trust Him for His amazing grace.